Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 199. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with pucksandpitchforks.com editor-in-chief Nick Villano, coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios in North Jersey and an undisclosed location in South Jersey. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Tonight's podcast title, Meier, Boeser, and Devils Trades, exclamation point. Oh my. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing just dandy. I think a lot of Devils fans are chattering online. I think a lot of other teams' fans do not respect the New Jersey Devils and their fans. I feel like it is Devils fans against the world. And I also think that everybody's got an opinion about the New Jersey Devils and what moves Devils GM Tom Fitzgerald's going to make. And we got a great guest tonight. His name is Alex Chauvancy of the Hockey Writers. That guy knows his stuff, very respectable, and I follow his stuff, and I'm interested to hear what he has to say because he can shed light on what may happen.
Oh, absolutely. I think trades are all anybody really wants to talk about right now. Because, I mean, listen, the Devils came back from the All-Star break. Jack Hughes had a so-so performance in the All-Star break. Almost got hurt, didn't get hurt. They beat Vancouver in overtime after blowing a 4-2 lead or whatever
4-1.
it was.
4-1
lead. But they won in overtime. Stupid performance down the stretch. Took the foot off the gas, clearly. Jack Hughes missed practice, or missed most of practice today. He's questionable for tomorrow. That pretty much sums up everything, right? The Hughes thing is concerning, but not really. Marino came back. That was another thing. Love to see Marino came back. But yeah, we want to talk about Timo Meier and Brock Boeser and, even Luke Shen, I guess. Vladimir Tarasenko. I want to talk about the big names, the big wingers that the Devils could get. And I want to, I think that's the thing. And I started a series, Sam. I think I might have done it too late. I thought I'd be fine because the trade deadline is March 3rd, but it sounds like the Devils are fast and furiously trying to pick which one they're going to make a trade for. And with the Bo Horvat trade from the Islanders happening,
yep.
They're looking to make a move. So I started a series. I'm going to do 3 trades from a bunch of various different teams. The issue, I would just do a bunch in one night. The problem is that I'm also writing Super Bowl content for the front page and football content for the front page of Fansided. So I'm busy, Sam. I'm very busy. But I did get the first of that series out. The Montreal Canadiens trade bait, whatever you want to call it. Did 3 trades between the Devils and the Montreal Canadiens. Somehow, despite everything that Montreal Canadiens Twitter says, I did it without adding Josh Anderson. They are obsessed with Josh Anderson of the Devils, and they think they're going to get Simon Nemec or Luke Hughes. Like some craziness, Sam. That's some craziness.
The only way you're going to get either one of them, you're not going to get Luke Hughes. He's untouchable at this point just because the whole connection with Jack Hughes.
And he's really good.
Yeah.
Might be the best prospect in hockey.
And Nemec, the only way you're going to get him is if you offer up McDavid at this point. Yeah. You're not going to divvy off the plan. The plan is solid right now. I don't think Tom Fitzgerald's going to do anything stupid. And, again, you know what? I may be boring and kind of a square when I say this, but honestly, I'd be happy if Tom Fitzgerald did absolutely nothing by trade deadline or at least make smaller moves.
When you say happy, do you really mean content, or do you mean you'd actually be like, would you prefer he do nothing over get Timo Meier or Brock Boeser?
You know what? This is me as a fan talking. After 10 years of suffering with the exception of 1 year. The roller coaster ride, you might as well just finish the job and stand pat. I don't think this is the year for the Devils to be in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I like to save the ammunition when they can be in the, Stanley Cup contenders without making the trades, and then you make those trades. That's all I'm saying. It's strategy at this point. I get what people are saying, and there are a lot of people that disagree with me on Twitter and all that. But I will say, though, when they disagree with me, they make constructive points, and both on YouTube and Twitter, and I would like it and say good point. Even though I don't agree, there's been some really, really good dialogue with Devils fans online, and I'm happy about that.
Glad your Twitter account looking better than mine right now.
No, there's a lot of haters. I'm just ignoring it. But
my mute button has been strong as of late, Sam. My mute button be strong as of late.
Yeah.
Because I don't block. I don't want to give you the satisfaction of knowing that I don't give a hell about you. But I don't want to see you in my feed anymore. I don't want to see you in my comments. So
I don't think I've ever
my
blocked
mute button
anybody.
be strong.
I think the only people I block are the ones trying to get me into Bitcoin and some kind of investment, those kind of accounts on Twitter.
Yeah, the spammy ones. The ones are going to disappear eventually anyway. But here's the deal, Sam, is that I think the Devils are going to make a trade. Now, you went on the Woo Report. Was that yesterday?
Yes.
And you're into Brock Boeser.
Yeah.
I'm not. We disagree.
That's fine.
There.
That's fine.
Which, again, depending on the price, I don't want to pay what we're talking about paying for Timo Meier for Brock Boeser.
No.
If I'm getting Boeser, I'm not giving up Holtz. I probably don't even want to give up the first-round pick.
Well, that's, again, there are stipulations why I want Boeser. I think Timo Meier, guaranteed you're going to have to give up a lot. There's no way you're going to fleece San Jose. And it goes with what I just said earlier. Like, you've gone this far. Again, I'd still be happy if the Devils barely did anything. But with Boeser, again, at the right price. I'm not saying that a first rounder for best. No, absolutely not. But for the right price, because right now I think Tom Fitzgerald has more leverage with Vancouver than he does with the San Jose Sharks. Everybody's going after Timo Meier.
So the name that might intrigue you, I want you to look this up. Maybe do a Woo Report on it because I wrote about it, and you can kind of look up my logic. But I talked about going after Sean Monahan of the Montreal Canadiens.
I saw that.
He was a complete albatross contract. They had the Flames had to give up a first-round pick just to get him off the roster so they could sign, I think, Nazem Kadri, I think is who they were trying to sign at the time. But he's looked decent when he was on the ice. He's currently on long-term injury reserve, but he should be back relatively soon, like within weeks. I think you give up. I overpaid in the trade, to be completely honest. I offered Riley Walsh, which I think is a massive overpay. But Riley Walsh is also, like, what are you going to do with him this offseason? He's a restricted free agent, but you have nowhere to put him. So maybe you get the rental. Maybe Sean Monahan. I think Sean Monahan is Eric Holla if Eric Holla could score. He does all the good little things right. He wins faceoffs at a pretty decent clip. I think he's 53%. And he can score. You put him next to Jack Hughes. I don't know if he can keep up with Jack Hughes, especially with the injury history. But he'll get into position to score. He'll win faceoffs. He'll dominate possession. So I think there's something there. And that's, again, not over Meier, not over Boeser, not over Tarasenko, not over O'Reilly, not over any of these other players. But if you strike out everywhere or if the price is just ridiculous, I think Monahan's an interesting piece.
I think that's interesting. What's his cap hit? What's his contract situation?
It's a lot. I think it's like 5. So you have to play around with the contracts. They'll probably have to take – if you're giving up Walsh, I expect them to take Johnson back or whoever you need them to take back to make it work.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you're doing that, Yeah, again, I think that's what you have to do. They just have to take Johnson back. And Johnson might work for them.
He may.
What does Montreal have to lose to just take on a Johnson contract for a year? If he plays well with the young kids, a veteran coming in, he gets another NHL shot. Maybe that desperation turns into something good for him. Who knows?
Yeah, and I hate to use the old cliche. I mean, we're talking about Boeser and Monahan, and some of these players, but sometimes it changes scenery, does something. And that's what I'm also, again, it's a risky bet, but that's why I was so into Boeser in Vancouver. I've always been a fan of his since his rookie year. Is he as good as Timo Meier? No, Meier's definitely a lot better. But, again, it's the future. If you have to look at the Devils' future in terms of their net worth. The Athletic has them number 2, I believe, the prospect pool.
Number 2.
Was it Scott Walker?
Scott Wheeler.
Wheeler, sorry. Yeah.
I invited him on to talk about it, so I could yell at him for being. No, I was just kidding. But I did invite him on. But he's his plate is pretty full trying to get these prospect reports out. So if we could get him on, he's been on before. Hopefully we can get him on again to talk about it. But number 2.
Yeah.
And Vinny Parisi wrote an article about it. So go to puckspitchforks.com and read about it.
And again, I'm gonna check here. Oh. Our guest is in the green room. I'm so sorry.
I was going to ask. I was like, are you stalling? What's going on?
Well, you had me all intrigued with this conversation of Monahan, but we have Alex Chauvancy, a good friend of the podcast, from the Hockey Writers. You can find him on Twitter at AlexC_THW. Alex, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you tonight?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing great. This content's great, Alex. I wrote about the Montreal Canadiens, and the views are flowing in. We just need to talk about more Canadian teams, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed anytime you talk about the Canucks or the Canadiens, that's probably going to drive viewers to your website. So especially those two teams more so than any of the other Canadian teams. So, yeah, keep doing that if you want.
You can't be telling an online troll like myself these kind of secrets. Just kidding.
Just wait until you get a Maple Leaf story that really hits. That goes super viral. But we're off the tracks already. I'm sorry, Alex. You do a trade bait board. Do you do it weekly for the Hockey Writers?
Yeah, I'm starting to now since we're a little less than a month away from the trade deadline. So yeah, I just did an update for it yesterday, if I remember right, or Monday night. Sometime beginning of this week.
Yeah.
And then as whenever like Saravalli and LeBron decide to update their trade boards, I try to check on that and see if there's anything that I need to add or take away as well.
And obviously you had to take away something because Bo Horvat got traded, and I believe now Meier is now your top acquisition element of this trade deadline. And the Devils have been heavily involved. I think that much is obvious. LeBron kind of alluded to it in his piece that he did directly with Fitzgerald, and everybody and their mother who's an analyst has tied the Devils at least in the running for Meier. So let me ask you this. Do you think the Devils make the most sense for him? We'll start there.
Yeah, I would say so. Not just because they have like half the Swiss national team on their roster, but just for just for what they need in their top 6. They need someone he's not really a sniper. He just scores a ton of goals because his shot volume is insane. But they need someone like that other than Jack in their top 6. Yeah, when I wrote about him for the Hockey Writers, he was on pace for like almost 400 shots on goal this season. I think a little bit under that. I think like 370 at the time, and that was a few weeks ago. I don't know if it's changed since then. But yeah, he just shoots the puck constantly, and they could use someone other than Jack Hughes, who's just a high volume shooter like that. So yeah, I definitely think just from a hockey perspective, he makes a ton of sense for what the Devils need.
Now the trade you see the most: Holtz, Sharangovich, first round pick. Do you think that's enough? Do you think that's the price? Like, where are you setting the price for Meier?
Yeah, I definitely think that's enough for sure, but I'm not even convinced that they're gonna have to give up Holtz for
Oh,
Meyer. I think it's possible that he's not in the package. It depends what it looks like. I think it's gonna look something like a first, a second, a prospect, and then probably an NHLer. That could be Igor Sharangovich, it could be someone else. I don't know. But I'm not sure they're gonna need to give up. I think Scott Wheeler had Holtz as their number three prospect, right?
yep.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if they're gonna need to do that, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. But yeah, it's gonna be an expensive price to pay for him. That's for sure because I mean he's on pace for like 45 goals this season, so can't deny it.
So I wrote a couple weeks ago about how the Devils could afford to give Meier and Brett a total of 18 per season. It would be incredibly hard, but you could work it out without having to buy anybody out or do any kind of gymnastics. Do you think that's smart? Like, would you want to do that as an NHL team?
Um, Probably not, but the cap is also going to go up quite a bit in either the next year or two. So you have to think about that a little bit too. You might be hard on the cap for maybe a season or two until that big jump, whatever they decide to do with it, whether it's splitting it between two seasons or doing one big jump in one year. So you kind of have to maneuver around that a little bit. But I think you're going to have guys like Luke Hughes and Simone Nemitz on ELCs, which will help. You probably even kind of round out your bottom six with guys like Graham Clark and Arsenij Griciuk if he ever comes over with ELCs also. So that'll be a way to manage around paying guys like Jesper and Jack and Timo all around $8 to $9 million a year. So I think it'd be fine because maybe for not the first year or two, but in the long run they'll be fine because the cap should be going up from here on out. So uh, yeah, I guess most teams in the Devils position probably wouldn't be smart to do, but I think since they're close to being really opening up their Stanley Cup window or at least their playoff window here, that's something they should definitely do.
So the other big name that has been directly tied to the Devils is Brock Boeser. I believe it's Frank Saravalli. He's basically just said Devils and Boeser have, that's been a link. I think he said it this week earlier. What are your thoughts on that? Are you in favor of acquiring Boeser if you miss out on Meier?
I'm not the biggest Brock Boeser fan, but I do see why that they like him. I saw David Pagnotta has been saying it too in the fourth period that they've been linked to Boeser, and then some local outlet in Vancouver, I think this was last night, reported that Boeser's agent had also reached out to the Devils and a couple other teams to talk about a fit. And yeah, like you said before, Saravalli has linked the Devils and Boeser together in the past, saying they even came close to acquiring him, but they just couldn't finalize a deal. He's not a player without his flaws. His skating isn't great, which I think could be a little bit problematic in a system like Lindy Ruff's. And his defensive game, even though it's taken even a further step back this season, was never great to begin with. But he does score at a 29 goal pace per 82 games for his career. Even with a down couple last seasons, he's been okay offensively. And I think he is a good change of scenery candidate. You have to kind of take into account what happened with his dad, obviously passing away. I think it was last spring. That was obviously he's only 25 years old, so that must have been incredibly difficult for him. And then just the whole overall dysfunction within the Canucks organization too. That can't help. So I think he's a good change of scenery candidate, and I really don't think he's going to cost much to acquire at all. I saw Thomas Drance when I wrote about Boeser. I went back to an article Thomas Drance wrote in The Athletic saying that he thinks the return for Boeser could even be less than what the Blue Jackets got for Oliver Bjorkstrand. And if that's the case, I think it might be a worthwhile gamble. So, for those who don't remember, Bjorkstrand only got the Blue Jackets a third and a fourth round pick. So if it's less than that, Plus, Vancouver would probably retain a little bit of salary because I don't think anyone would take Besser at 6.65 million per at this point. So they're going to have to take some money back as well, retain some of his contract, and then probably even take back some money to make a trade work. So for that low cost, I think it'd be all right as a plan B. Obviously, Meier's the big fish that they want, and he should be their top target. But there's obviously a little bit of a risk with Besser too, because you kind of hope just what's happened with him off the ice in the last year is affecting his play a little bit too. But I don't mind it as a plan B. But I think there may be even better options than him out there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think there's a lot of options. There's a lot. I kind of want to know your dark horse, but before I get to that, you did tweet just a couple of minutes ago about Tarasenko. And Tarasenko's a guy I've always really liked, and I thought he makes a lot of sense. I did kind of dig into his advanced stats this year, and I'm not gonna lie to you, they're booty. His advanced stats are pretty terrible.
Yeah.
His counting stats are fine, but his advanced stats, he's like 13th on the Blues, and the Blues are terrible. So, out of curiosity, what is your thoughts on Tarasenko? Is that a player that I kind of attribute it to the fact that he's wanted to leave for 2 years, and they're just like, nah, dog. Like, I feel like that he's just kind of moseying out there, and he'll get motivation again when he goes to a team he likes. But what are your thoughts on Tarasenko?
Yeah, he's not a strange player. He's just a hard player to figure out these days. I mean, he had a really good season last year. He had like 34 goals and 82 points, I think, or 78 points, something like that for the Blues. His defensive game was never great, and it's kind of really fallen off a cliff over the last couple of seasons since he's gotten healthy from the shoulder surgeries. But he still has offensive value. Like, he's still a pretty good offensive player. I think there's definitely smoke there because obviously when he first requested the trade, I think it was in 2021 at this point, the Devils were tied to him then. And then on a couple of recent 32 Thoughts episodes, Elliot Friedman talked about how in one episode, Elliot Friedman talked about how if the Blues landed Matthew Tkachuk summer, that Tarasenko could have ended up in New Jersey because the two sides talked about it last offseason. Obviously moot points since Tkachuk ended up in Florida. And then just last week, Friedman said a couple of places he could see for Tarasenko are any team in the New York City area, actually. So the Islanders, Rangers, and Devils. So I think Tarasenko's more so their plan B if they don't get Timo Meier. There's just been so much smoke to him for the last couple of years, and it just kind of feels like that they really like him. I understand why. Even though with his defensive flaws, if you just put him on a line with like Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes, they'll take care of the defensive kind of aspect of the game, and he can just kind of coast and put up goals, which is what Jesper and Jack would set him up for. So I like him better as a plan B, I think, than Boeser. The only concern I have is if the Devils get him, would they try to re-sign him? Because I definitely would not be looking to re-sign him to a long-term contract. But as a rental, I think he's a more viable option. He has a full no trade clause, so if he's only going to accept a trade to a few different teams, that probably lower his value a bit too. And there's obviously his cap hit's like $7.5 million, so St. Louis would have to retain a little bit there too, and you'd probably have to send back Andreas Janssen and try to free up a little bit of money that way too. But I like Tarasenko actually better as a fit than Boeser, I think.
It's an interesting fit, and I think there's that bounce back quality and that curiosity of like, can you, because what is he, 30 or 31? He's not that old.
He's 31, yeah.
So you would think that the drop off. This isn't an age drop off yet. This seems like an effort drop off, and I feel like he's not like the typical like no effort player. He's just in a situation he hates, and nobody will help him there. So I agree with you. I do like Tarasenko.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, I think he could be an ideal change of scenery candidate as well because he has wanted out of St. Louis for 2 years because of the way they handled his shoulder surgeries, and they've just never been able to find a trade, I guess, for him or whatever. But I think he could be more of a bounce back candidate than Brock Boeser, and I think he's a better fit for what the Devils, how the Devils play instead of Boeser because of the skating aspect of Boeser's. I'm a little concerned about how he would fit there with Lindy Ruff trying to play with pace like he wants to.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some dark horses, under the radar, whatever adjective you want to use. Who's somebody that we're not talking about that you think would make a lot of sense for the Devils and you think at least is somewhat available?
Yeah, so I could think of a couple of players actually. I'm actually writing about James Van Riemsdyk now,
Oh,
and I think the skating is also a concern with him as well, and his health also. But he's pending UFA. He's still playing pretty well for a not so great Flyers team. I think if he were able to play 82 games this year, he'd be on pace for 21 goals and 50 plus points. And the price for him is, I think it was in the Athletics trade board. Pierre LeBrun said it would be like a mid or late round pick, so that's absolutely nothing. So if all else fails, you kind of consider Van Riemsdyk too. I think one person that, and I don't know this for sure, that Devils fans should probably be keeping an eye on is Max Domi.
mm,
I don't. The issue I have with Domi is his defensive game is absolutely terrible. There's just really like no defensive effort whatsoever. But he does have offensive upside. The issue with him is trying to how do you negate some of his defensive impacts because they are really bad. But I think he makes sense for a bottom six that could use a little bit more edge and some scoring upside. You can either play him at left wing, at center, which is nice. He has that versatility. That's that's definitely someone I would be keeping an eye on. I think he's got a $3 million cap it, so the Devils should be able to make that work with Chicago retaining a little bit too, and they could probably still add someone like Meier. You might have to get a little creative, but they should be able to pull that off too. So yeah, Domi would be someone I'm keeping an eye on. And then I just kind of get the sense the Devils might be looking for some defensive depth also. I think maybe the John Marino injury could have changed their, I guess, position on that a little bit. We saw Ohatyuk and Ball kind of have really up and down roller coaster efforts when Marino was out. I don't think they're looking for anything crazy there, especially since they're probably expecting Luke Hughes to join the team at some point before the playoffs. But I can't really think of a depth defenseman that would, off the top of my head. I see Jake Wallman might be available from Detroit. That would make a lot of
okay.
sense. But yeah, I think the biggest dark horse for me would be Max Domi. I just kind of feel like that's a player that Devils would really like to have that kind of embodies the playoff hockey kind of thing that takes place during playoffs. So yeah, I would keep an eye on Domi.
So I don't know if you heard us. The guy we were talking about is Montreal Canadian center Sean Monahan. He's kind of my dark horse candidate that
I did hear
interests
that.
me. Listen, I get it. Like Calgary had to trade away a first round pick to get rid of him, but he's in the last year of his contract, and he's going to cost nothing. Even if it costs something, I think you can get him for like Riley Walsh, who's a player who's in no man's land in this prospect system right now. Actually, I don't. Was Riley Walsh even mentioned in Scott Wheeler's article?
That's a good question. I don't think he was. Maybe he didn't make the age limit anymore. Isn't he 23 or 24?
Is that what it is?
Isn't Scott Wheeler's like? Yeah, that might be it. Because I don't remember seeing him in the top 15.
I don't either. I don't even remember him being in the honorable mentions. So that's not even top 20.
But
Riley Walsh was once a really good. Yeah, he's 23. He turned 23 this year. So,
yeah, that might be it.
That part of it. Yeah, that might be it. But again, this is a 23-year-old defenseman who's progressing, but has been passed by Nemitz. Nemitz is the best defenseman on Utica. He's not going to surpass John Marino or Dougie Hamilton. So I don't know what you're going to do with that situation. I feel like if you could turn him into an NHL rental, that's just my point. What do you think about Monahan as kind of that Eric Holla type who can actually score?
Yeah, I mean, you can never have too many centers when it comes to the playoffs. I think that's part of the reason why they were interested in Bo Horvat too, even though I think their plan with Horvat was kind of to use him on the wing a little bit like they were doing with Eric Holla. Yeah, I do like Sean Monahan. The health thing has been a big issue with him. I think he's only played like 25 games this year, right? Or something like that.
He's injured
he's
right
been
now.
out of the lineup for a while. Yeah, I think he's been out for like a couple of months almost, hasn't he? Somewhere around there. I think it's been a while since he's played for them. So
He's definitely missed all of
if
January
his
and all of
health,
February.
yeah. So if his health checks out, I don't mind that. That would I heard like what you and Sam were talking about before too. Like maybe if they do like I guess this would be considered a minor move. Sean Monahan, like if they don't get a big name and they just kind of try to fill out their depth with like a Sean Monahan and something like that. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think like you said too, they're not going to have to give up anything, big for him. So I wouldn't have an issue with that if that's the route they decide to go. It could be a good dark horse candidate.
Do you see them doing anything surprising, like say moving Damon Severson or anything like? Do you see them doing anything weird?
That would be really surprising, especially after the Marino injury. I just like can't see them trying to move Severson anymore because I'm not gonna say they're a lock for the playoffs, but they're almost as good as a lock. And he would play a pretty valuable role for them in the playoffs, especially once Marino gets back up to speed. You could probably assume that Severson will be on the third pair with Brendan Smith until Luke Hughes arrives, and Luke Hughes, Damon Severson third pair could be something to watch in a good way. When it comes down to it, the only thing that I could see that would be really surprising is them getting another goalie. It was in one of the DFO rundown episodes that Saravalli did. I don't remember when. It was sometime in January. He was talking about the goalie market, and he said how Seattle and Los Angeles and New Jersey were the only teams really looking for goalies at the time. And he said New Jersey was just looking for a backup. That would be the really surprising move to me because I think Mackenzie Blackwood, to his credit, has been pretty good since he came back from his injury. I don't really know if you want to make that move before the trade deadline. I think if you're going to move on from Blackwood, it's something you do in the off season at this point. So if they did that before the trade deadline, that would be really surprising to me. I don't think that's something that they're really looking for right now. I think they're just going to go into this postseason with a Vanacek Blackwood tandem, and then I guess depending what happens with Utica, you might have Akira Schmid ready to come up as well. But that would be the most surprising thing to me. If they got a goalie before the deadline, that would be the most surprising for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be surprised, but again, like I feel like the ship has just sailed with the Devils in Blackwood. He's here. They'll treat him well while he's here, but I think there's zero chance he's on the team next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think they're going to stick with him long term. Whether that's Akira Schmid backing up Vanacek next year or they decide to make a move for someone else in the offseason, like maybe a Varlamov on a short-term contract as a backup for Vanacek until you think Schmid's ready to be a full-time, 1B or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree with that. I don't really see them, especially since they have to give Blackwood a new contract this offseason. Since he'll be a restricted free agent this offseason, and I don't really see them re-signing him.
And I'll say this. I still really like Nico Dawes, and I think that I wouldn't be terribly surprised if he won that backup job next year. I know he fell. We talked about that Scott Wheeler ranking. He fell to 15th, I think, in that Scott Wheeler ranking.
Yeah.
And Schmid was like 6th or 7th. So I get it. Schmid looked fantastic in the NHL this year. But Nico Dawes was the guy I've always been on, so I'm not giving up on him just yet.
Yeah, they're both good prospects. I think the difference, the noticeable difference for me between the two of them is that Akira Schmid's a lot more athletic than Nico Dawes, especially for a big guy. He's like, I think Schmid's like 6'6", like 200 something pounds. Some of the saves he was making in the NHL, it was kind of just like freakishly athletic kind of stuff. So I think that with Dawes, he needs to be more technically sound because he just doesn't have the athleticism that Schmid does. But they are both good prospects, and I could see either one of them being a 1B to Vanacek at some point.
Love to hear that. Alex Chauvancy, the hockey writers, writing a couple different places. Alex, let everybody know. We talked about your trade bait board. Let everybody know what you got coming up, what kind of Devils content you got coming up, and where they could find you.
Yeah, so as I mentioned a little bit before in this episode, writing a trade profile piece on James Van Riemsdyk. I'm not really planning on doing too many more of these unless like someone some of these insiders they connect the Devils to a name we haven't heard of at this point. So I'll probably do one on Van Riemsdyk, and then I'll probably do my last one, at least for now, on Max Domi next week. Then, yeah, on Twitter, you can find me, AlexC_THW. I write for the Hockey Writers, and then I also contribute 2 to 3 articles a month for Todd Cordell's website, Infernal Access. I'm going to have something for that for IA on Saturday. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to write about yet, but I have an idea. So have something for that on Saturday. And then, yeah, probably do like a couple of takeaway posts on the upcoming games as well.
Well, Alex, we always love having you on. We wanted to go full proposal, full speculation season over here. So had to have you on to do a little speculation with us. Alex, we love having you on. We'll definitely have you on again soon. And we're talking about a playoff team, so we can even talk in the playoffs. What a world we live in. Alex, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah, take care, guys.
Thanks, Alex. That's Alex Chauvancy of the Hockey Writers. Again, find him on Twitter at AlexC_THW. Nick, it was your turn to cut in.
No, you usually ask me a question.
Oh. So what do you think about that interview?
No, Alex is great. He always has really good insight. He really digs into the numbers. But I didn't want to we always talk about numbers with him and kind of advanced stats and what his thoughts are on those advanced stats. I wanted to get into speculation season. So yeah, we kind of veered away from what our usual interview topics are, but that was a lot of fun. And honestly, Sam, it's selling right now. The trade speculation is selling right now. This is what Devils fans want to talk about. And here's the thing, Sam, is I'm trying not to use a graphic term. We used up all of our real estate when it comes to Meier talk. I've written about this 17 different ways. And, I got to look at the other options. Because what's going to happen is if I write 10 more Meier articles and then we trade for Boeser, we trade for Ryan O'Reilly or Vladimir Tarasenko or, Clayton Keller. There's a lot of options out there for the Devils to trade for. So I think that you got to be prepared for anything. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, this time of year is probably the most wonderful time.
Oh, yeah.
Just like free agent frenzy.
Yeah, and like draft season because you get big trades around the draft too, and free agent season. You're right.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I'm not so much of a speculation type guy. You never, say what you want about me, but you never.
You got the wrong co-host then, Sam. How did you bring me on if you're not into speculation? That's all I do.
Well, you're my better half on this podcast because we're opposites most of the time. We're opposites, mutual respect, but we're opposites, and it's always good to get a different point of view. So the way I look at it is I feel better about myself after this podcast because I know that I was right. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But
okay.
No, you never see me. I say a lot of dumb things sometimes on Twitter, but the one thing you don't see me do is make trade proposals, all that kind of stuff. I only comment on it. I don't know. That's just the way I am. In terms of.
Listen, I also think that we're a little bit different in content in that I need. I get paid in clicks. I get paid. Like I don't hide this fact. That's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
But so. I love talking. Listen, it's easy for me to talk about who the Devils would target or who might be on the trade block or like very singular type moves. But, Sam, listen, I'll tell you exactly. I'm going to peel back the curtain. I'm going to break kayfabe. I wrote an article predicting trades with the Montreal Canadiens today. It came out this morning, right? It has, right now there is currently 125 people on the website concurrently at this moment.
Wow. including myself.
Including yourself.
Yeah.
Today, just today, we've had 20,000 people visit the site.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and listen, like I'm not saying we're Google or we're YouTube or anything, but 20,000 people on pucksandpitchforks.com is a good day. It's a good day.
Maybe I should write an article. Cash in on it and write something so out there, so outlandish. I mean, the podcast is going to go hit 500,000 downloads probably within the next 72 hours, maybe even sooner.
You need to write something about that.
About what? Getting 500,000 downloads, and we're going to have the biggest party of the year on February 25th at American Whiskey. I already talked to American Whiskey. I don't know if I told you this. They're literally giving me the keys to the place. They said, Sam, I know it's a big production setup. Just here's the keys. We trust you. Because it's going to be like I told them, I got some big TVs to install. I've got, we've got our DJ Shelley. Those that don't know her, let me tell you, she can really, really, really get the room going. It's going to be an amazing event. Plus, you're going to see a lot of the podcast members there as well. Maybe we got some coming from California. I don't know. You're going to have to, I don't know. I'm reading these comments. It's like people just calm down. And
how did we anger them this time, Sam?
I don't know. Steve Engel, he says a lot of stuff, on the YouTube Live, and it's always distracting because I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? You know me and ADD. But you know what? The numbers have been very, very good. I mean, January, this podcast, record-breaking. And we're still on that pace in February, which is very good. And, we're going into our big live event. We're throwing a big party. Lots of sangria. Lots of beer for those that are 21 or older. Also, Taylor ham burgers or pork roll burgers, whichever you prefer, but it's more expensive if you say pork roll, on the off-the-menu items at American Whiskey.
Why is it more expensive? Oh, because it's the Adam Ham way?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we got to
tell them to charge more for pork roll.
Of course I did.
By
the way, I got to get in touch with Adam because I plan to install an NES system. Maybe we could play Blades of Steel.
Oh.
Have him come by the podcast. Arlette is going to be singing as well. We're going to have entertainment, folks. And then it's going to be a viewing party. If you don't have a ticket, just hang out at the bar and watch the game with us. I got the goal horn and all that kind of stuff. Every time the Devils score, oh my goodness, I hope they're currently building an addition onto American Whiskey. This place about to blow. Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm hoping that it's going to be a nice day, like a nice sunny day, where we'll have the DJ Shelley, we'll have the concert speakers outside, have the TVs outside. So it's going to be so packed. It's going to be unbelievable. And it's just going to be, Peyton's going to be behind the bar. Alejandra's going to be behind the bar. People are flying in. I'm trying to get the beer towers going. It's hard to organize these events, but it's a special day for us. And their Devils are winning. Our Devils are winning, folks. And wouldn't it be awesome if Brock Boeser was in a Devils uniform that day? Now I'm trolling.
What if that's the first game of Timo Meier?
Well, you know what?
You might be right. We might have to extend this out into the parking lot.
No, we're going to have to. I mean, honestly, Supernova's asking, Sam, will the podcast fans get preferences on drinks? Look, I'm working out deals. I am for the fan. I've said this any live event we've thrown in the past, we do not charge at the door. We do that on purpose. We're not dopes. We don't charge at the door. When you get to meet Grant Marshall or in the past or Colin White or Bruce Driver, Chico, we're all about the fans. And then realize that some fans, you know what, don't have a ticket to go inside. Don't worry. Hang out with us. That's what it's all about. We're not trying to nickel and dime you or, this and that. No, we're trying to build something so special here. It's more than that. It really is. Am I doing a good sales job, Nick?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be there. That's the only sales job I need to do. This pretty mug is going to be there in person. Yeah. Come shake my hand. Come talk Devils hockey. I'm getting there a little early, too. I'm going to be – Sam, I might be a little sauced. Might be a little sauced for that podcast.
Well, let me tell you, you don't know who shows up at American Whiskey. Like, Beer Baron was there the other day, but it turned out Jack Hughes' family was there, and he didn't even notice.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, Beer Baron, you've got the microphone. We could have interviewed them. But, it's Beer Baron. We love him.
He'll talk to the people if you get them for him.
Yeah. And, that's right, Steve Engel. Sangria. We're going to stock up on sangria.
Oh.
Yeah, drink specials. We'll figure that one out. It's always a good time.
Sam, you have a job. Next week's podcast, I want to know the drink specials. I'm a drinker. I'm drinking right now.
Well, playoff Beard,
a
craft beer by Departed Souls, Brian. I'll send you that beer. We will be. That's one of the beer specials. Playoff Beard.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of beer is it?
Hold on a sec here. I just found this out today. All right, so don't think like I should know this, but thanks. Hold on a sec. Play off Beard Departed Souls. Let's see here. I could tell you right now, it is Pale Ale.
Okay.
That's what I thought it is, but I didn't want to say it. And yeah.
So I could have one beer. I could have two beers. I could have a lot of pale ales.
Yeah, we're gonna be pushing. We're gonna be pushing it.
You know what, Sam? I think I got to take the train up. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, we may have to again. Not to make fun of it, but it's eye-opening what happened to our assistant coach. Seriously, don't drink and drive. I know it was a golf cart.
Nobody drink and drive.
No, that's
Take the train.
Yeah, take the train, and if you don't have a ride home, say something to somebody, especially at the bar. We're all good people here. Don't
take an Uber, take a Lyft, take a stranger's bike.
Yeah.
Don't take a stranger's bike. That's a crime. Don't commit crimes. No crimes.
Yeah.
But, Sam, you missed the best part. This is an English pale ale, and they added a crystal rye to it to give it a little sweetness. I'm a training up there. Might have 11 of those.
11?
I might have 11.
Wow.
I told you I'm going to be sauced when I get on this podcast.
Yeah. Oh.
This is what's great about having a pregnant wife is I always have a designated driver. So
is she coming up?
Train.
Is she coming up?
She's pregnant. She ain't doing crowds right now.
Oh.
She's very pregnant. But she'll cheer on from afar, and she'll pick me up from the train.
Yeah. Ramona is trying to get your attention, Nick. And I also see this. Sam, did you see about my pick? Yes, I already commented before about that, Ramona. She's talking about Ivan Barbashev as a pick.
Yeah. Doesn't move the needle for me. But it's fine. He's fine. Listen, if I'm talking to the Blues, I'm talking Bushnevich, I'm talking Tarasenko, I'm talking O'Reilly. And you know what? I'm even talking friend of the podcast, Jack Dawkins, told me to look at Brandon Saad. I don't love Brandon Saad because of that contract, but he does have some numbers that indicate he's not scoring at his full potential, and that more could happen. It might right? This is Ivan Barbashev is. Let me just make sure I'm not talking out of my.
You know what?
Booty. Yeah, the Blues. Okay, I just wanted to be 100%. You can't ever be sure. Here's what's going to happen, Sam. So I talked about this series I'm doing. Hopefully the Devils don't make a trade for another week and a half so I can get through this. We did the Canadians. The Canucks are next. I want to do it tonight, but I have a fan site article to write as well, and it's already 9:30. So expect that tomorrow night, probably tomorrow night. And then Friday morning, I'll give you the Blues. Saturday morning, I'll give you... I don't want to get... I know I'm going to do the Coyotes. I know I'm going to do the Florida Panthers. I know I want to do the Detroit Red Wings. I know I want to do the... Who's another really bad team that I'm not thinking of? Oh, the Senators. I know I want to do the Senators. And I want to do the Blackhawks. So I'll give you 8. 8 of these articles if the Devils don't make a big trade. If the Devils make a big trade, I kind of have to evaluate it. If they trade for Monahan, I think that I can still keep doing it. But if they trade for Meier, folks, it's going to be it. Oh, and by the way, I'm not doing the Sharks because I've done it. I've done 3 trades for Meier specifically. That's out there. Go check it out. If the Devils are making a trade with the Sharks, they're doing it for Meier. I think that's kind of it. So go take a look at that one. I wrote it a couple weeks ago. 3 trades for Meier. Did really well. It'll do even better when it happens. But yeah, that's what I got, Sam. I think that's it. I think I hit the wall.
Okay. Well, but
you can. Did somebody on the YouTube or the Facebook have a question? I'll answer questions.
Let's see here.
You were about to ask me a question. I rudely interrupted you.
That's okay. I'm used to it. Let's see here. No, that's okay. I mean, we're gonna have a. Well, actually, we're not gonna have a war report. We're gonna have Game Day Live and Devils After Dark tomorrow, as the Devils take on the Seattle Kraken. They've been kind of a pain in the butt to play. Not looking forward to that game, only because I don't know. I get nervous when the Kraken are in town, especially after last season. So, and it's not like we have a big history with the Kraken, but I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous things can go wrong.
Yeah, weren't they? They were the only team we lost to on that Western road trip, right?
Yeah, and you know what? They barely lost to them too. I mean, it was in
overtime.
In overtime. So, and they knocked over Mackenzie Blackwood. Remember that? And then they took advantage of it. Good for them. Okay, see you later. But yeah, I want to ask you before we go, Nick. If they do trade for Meier, we literally have to figure out how to drop everything and go live. I haven't figured out because, our working schedules are kind of tight. It's like, you're at work and then you're in a meeting. You'd be like, you got to go. I got an emergency. Well, what's the emergency? Timo Meier's in New Jersey. I think we got to figure that one out.
We'll figure something out. I'm still available by phone. We'll just have to do a phone thing, and I'll let you figure out the rest of it. But we'll figure it out. We just got to figure it out. Figure it out, Sam.
Yeah, figure it out. All right, I want to thank all those tuning in on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live, Twitch. A lot of people are on tonight. Dropping the podcast at midnight. Maybe I'll write an article about the 500,000, the journey to 500,000 downloads.
Do it.
And then plug February 25th, the greatest party on earth. And plus, you got the 2003 Stanley Cup team anniversary, all that. There's going to be you never know who's going to show up at American Whiskey. That's the other thing too. Like, I wish I could promise you something, but you can't. Reason why? Because you just simply don't know. It could be Marty Brodeur could just walk in. You never know.
I guarantee Scott Stevens will be. Just kidding.
Yeah. Scott Stevens, the captain. Dave Singer says February Sangria 5th. Ah, very creative. A little punny there. All righty. Oh, my goodness, as Zetterlund has been playing well. Can't wait to see him coming out.
He's been all right. It's only been a couple games, but yeah.
Steve Tarnas, Michael Hay, Nick Gallo, hello. We'll see you tomorrow night. Till next time, let's go Devils.